Welcome Chosen X. You enter like an unanswered chord finally allowed to resolve. The hall exhales before your foot touches tessellated stone, and fixtures become witness rather than ornament. Light inclines toward you as if gravity learned a new name. A person of rank bows, offering two syllables that ripple beyond sound and form an inner verdict. Heat settles under your ribs. Something latent takes shape. This is not a spectacle. Fabrics and marble translate a tongue older than ceremony. Crowds capture images, subtler records receive alignment. You did not arrive to gather praise. An arrangement requires completion, and your presence fulfills it. The nod before you acknowledges function rather than flesh. Where others see protocol, you perceive a scene closing. Seasons of absence now show craft. Isolation carved listening into bones and patience into gestures. Those intervals taught you to prefer frequency over volume. Let this bind posture, reception without presumption. Do not let admiration calcify into entitlement. The commission on you requests fidelity over display. Observe how textiles and stone soften as you move. Drapery inhales. Floors reply. The room does not merely watch, it adjusts. A current holds between the bowed figure and your steadiness that refuses to fade. You stand as conduit converting interior cadence into external order. The mantle will act less like a trophy and more like a channel. As the interval stretches, breath adopts a new pulse. External applause swells then fades, but it does not define confirmation. True settling roots in marrow and answers no headline. Use that inward signal as a compass. Do not confuse acclaim with covenant. Every closed door that stung like rejection became training in discernment. Thresholds sharpen perception and solitude refine speech. Take readiness as a mandate, not privilege. You will not dominate spaces, you will reveal origin. Carry gentleness threaded with resolve. When you step from the hall, light meets glass at uncommon angles. City noise changes tempo. Streets read as chapters in a wider script. Bystanders glance and sense without naming why. Your passage spreads recalibration through daily scenes, converting routine into instruction via small acts. Remain oriented towards service. Gratitude must become a habit. Let humility gird action. Quiet obedience opens channels loud striving cannot. The gift conferred ignites rather than crowns. Carry it into corridors, homes, classrooms, and kitchens. Your work will move slowly and insistently. Resist the seduction of vanity. Invitations to collect acknowledgement will come masked as duty. Pause, discern, choose refining over acquisition. Let recognition refine rather than define you. Choose steadiness when applause tempts haste. Practice small rituals to sustain clarity. Walk at dawn. Offer water. Return messages promptly. These disciplines temper fervor into endurance. Authority multiplied by discipline yields durable influence. Make small acts proof of larger intent. Expect resistance. Old structures cling. Those invested in precedent may block reorder. Stand firm while holding space for reconciliation. Change requires both courage and patience. Build systems that outlast presence. Train others, distribute responsibility, foster shared language. A healthy movement survives absence because stewardship spreads rather than centers. When fatigue comes, renew with modest practice. Retreat not to avoid but to recalibrate. Rest is tactical. Preserve nights for undisturbed thought. Protect pockets of silence that nourish steady work. Let small reconciliations compound. Tend mended promises, repaired trusts, restored routines. These are compound interests on meaningful change. Celebrate with reserved joy that teaches appetite for humility. Keep wonder alive. Read poems that expand your view. Visit places that are humble. Sing songs that widen empathy. Wonder replenishes imagination needed to envision futures not yet formed. Act with discretion. Correct privately when possible. Teach publicly when necessary. Healing leadership accrues loyalty without dependency. Quiet correction often outperforms loud denunciation. Hold generosity as a test. Gatekeeping corrodes authority into theater. Open doors. Invite companions. Leave paths passable for those who follow. Measure success by repaired relations, durable systems, and resilient neighbors rather than metrics. Let slow victories guide celebration and keep ambition tethered to service. Step into presence as steward, not spectacle. Each move becomes a curriculum for others. Let your life translate unseen patterns into tangible restoration. Leave the hall with shoulders soft and a steady tempo in your step. The moment offered a name, but the real work lives in kitchens, council rooms, late-night conversations, and patient returns. Receive this initiation with quiet resolve and continue onward with hands ready to serve. Walk slowly, keep commitments visible through small faithful acts. And you exit the chamber with a tempo that rewrites ordinary rhythms. Streets respond as if an unseen tuning fork has been placed in motion. Windows reflect a steadier light. People feel a subtle shift and move with a slightly altered step. Your presence does not demand spectacle. It invites recalibration. Begin with small, ordinary acts. A neighbor who needs help with groceries. A clerk who stumbles on a difficult word. A volunteer who needs acknowledgement. These moments carry weight because repair lives in the everyday. Grand gestures attract headlines. Quiet mending changes neighborhoods. You will face those who defend the old arrangements. They will call caution and ask for proof before change. Answer with patience and steady practice rather than sharp retorts. Demonstrate a different tempo, slow enough to be thoughtful and quick enough to offer mercy. Cultivate a posture of listening. Speak sparingly and with clarity. When you speak, let the words be instruments that alter thought. Resist the temptation to collect praise. Turn endorsements into movement building. Use public support to open doors for others rather than to seal your own advantage. Create durable structures. Charisma fades if systems do not exist. Train others to continue daily practices without reliance on a single figure. Teach routines that reproduce values. The test of your work will be its life when you are less present. Practice anonymous generosity. Leave resources and notes without credit. Such acts preserve humility and protect against the corrupting pull of recognition. Generosity that seeks no audience is the secret grammar of sustained influence. Protect time like soil. If every instant is harvested by urgency, nothing grows. Reserve pockets for quiet work, reading, and renewal. People will be disappointed, but absence allows essential projects to mature. Make decisions with a twin lens. When stakes are structural, slow down and consult. When mercy is needed, act swiftly. Train teams in these rhythms. Publish simple principles so those who depend on you can make choices aligned with your values. Celebrate small wins. A repaired relationship, a reliable service, a reconciled neighbor, these compound into real progress. Too much celebration breeds appetite for applause. Measured gratitude reinforces endurance. Anchor practices into ritual. Daily readings, brief communal pause, steady outreach become habits that outlast crises. Ritual translates conviction into dependable action. Accept solitude as part of formation. Leadership requires lonely hours. Use them to name limits, confess errors, and accept help. Hidden work grounds visible action. Distribute visibility widely. Introduce teammates, pass the microphone, allocate airtime. The movement grows when many can carry the message. Fix systems, not just people. Advocate for process changes that ensure persistence. Short-term heroics are noble but often ephemeral. Structural repair secures lasting benefit. Remain curious. Read diverse fields. Cross-disciplinary ideas fertilize solutions. A borrowed insight can unlock a stuck problem. Protect intimate relationships. Friends who knew you before attention arrived will keep you honest. Prioritize these connections with regularity. Filter invitations through 3 questions. Will this expand dignity? Will this build capacity? Will this teach someone else? If the answer is no, decline. Cultivate patience for rhythm. Not every problem suits public debate. Some healing occurs in private rooms. Train response toward restoration. Invite dissent into process. Critics can carry vital intelligence. Offer safe ways for feedback and respond with gratitude, not defensiveness. Invest in mentorship. Teach failures and the edits they require. Replicable practice matters more than charismatic pronouncements. Guard joy. Joy fuels resilience. Create spaces to celebrate quietly and deeply. Encourage small gatherings that sustain morale. Keep language actionable. Pair metaphor with clear next steps. People need both imagination and instruction. Align private practice with public words. Consistency earns trust. Let life make the message evident. When you enter spaces that once resisted you, do so as a guest and learner. Honor local histories. Ask what dignity looks like there. Measure progress by restored agency, repaired relations, and durable systems. These are harder to quantify but truer to mission. Build simple accountability loops. Share brief reports with communities and ask what changed. Let gentle technological reminders support practice without becoming spectacle. Prioritize clear feedback, keep discernment sharp, and move through daily work with disciplined humility and steady curiosity. Go with calm, steady courage. You step into a new stretch of days where obligations thicken and consequence takes shape. Rooms you cross carry decisions like breath, past choices lodge in corners and in upholstery. Your influence now nudges systems that require tending more than spectacle. Fixing will be less drama than persistence, small correctives repeated until angles shift. Resistance organizes itself. Those who profited from prior order will frame reform as recklessness. Committees will form, memos will circulate, voices will sharpen. Respond with measured discipline. Do not answer heat with heat. Record choices, explain reasoning, invite scrutiny. Transparency converts suspicion into conversation, but it must be paired with steady practice. Anchor daily questions that reorient action. Whom did I serve today? What did I repair? Who moved from shame to standing because I acted? Keep a modest ledger to consult when doubt comes. Small returns matter. They prove that slow recovery deserves stubborn investment. Politics will press. Structures that tolerate neglect will test change. Patience and process beat triumphal proclamations. Favor pilots over pronouncements. Tiny experiments reveal how ordinary people live reform far better than sweeping decrees. Use pilots to learn and scale what actually works. Reject currency of celebrity. Ceremony can distract and hollow work. Choose rituals that redistribute recognition and name the hands that keep daily life functioning. Publicly lift collaborators rather than collecting applause. Generosity that refuses the audience protects humility. Not every fight is yours. Filter invitations through 3 tests. Will this advance dignity, build capacity, cultivate autonomy? If not, decline kindly. Saying no preserves depth. Decline with explanation so refusal becomes a practiced discipline, not abdication. In neighborhoods of raw need, be reliable, not performative. Sit with guardians of households, listen to daily rhythms, try small fixes and return to measure results. Reliability preaches, absence undermines. Habits of return teach that transformation is habit, not headline. Bureaucracy will try patience. Treat forms as human behavior encoded. Translation matters. Render policy humane and regenerate policy language from humane practices. That translation work is tedious and essential. Train successors to be translators. Share templates, model meetings that end with clear next steps, and mentor others to own pieces of work. Autonomy secures legacy. Distributed responsibility prevents collapse when you are absent. Keep repentance quick and simple. When you err, acknowledge and repair without flourishing. Public mistakes handled with honest correction become a curriculum for trust. Accountability builds dignity. Build networks that cushion change. Partner with schools, civic groups, and independent leaders. Durable ties carry progress through shifting attention. Multiplication happens through shared infrastructure. Avoid transactional thinking. Invest influence to create capacity rather than dependency. Design funds and resources communities manage with oversight instead of paternal control. Capacity expands freedom. Use the appearance of power sparingly. Speak with precision. Convene intentionally and rotate seats so those rarely invited get space. Ritual inclusion unpacks privilege through practice. Protect an inner life. Reserve hours for unread letters, silence, and unedited thought. That interior economy keeps decisions tethered to origin. Restraint is strategy, not weakness. When initiatives stall, check small variables, schedule gaps, missing contacts, unattended details. Troubleshoot before assuming motive. Correct the mundane and momentum returns. Reward iteration. Celebrate attempts that teach. Encourage teams to publish learnings. Failure that produces clarity propels progress. Listen for stories. Host gatherings where people narrate what shifted and what remains hard. Stories translate data into lived truth and keep systems honest. Measure dignity restored more than impressions gained. Track reopened doors, reconciled relationships, renewed functioning. Let those metrics define priorities. Lead with invitation. Make it possible for ordinary people to contribute meaningfully. A movement gains grit when it includes everyday labor. Live as an open ledger of small consistent acts and teach others to write theirs. Keep wonder alive. Read poetry that widens perspective, visit places that are humble, and listen to music that enlarges the heart. Mentor successors with honesty about failures, regular feedback, and concrete tools. Protect rest as a strategic resource. Retreats are not retreats from duty but intervals for renewal. Continue forward with steady mercy and clear eyes, turning recognition into service and influence into practical generosity for communities that will outlast any single moment. Let each small act become a pattern future generations can follow. Preserve this discipline daily. Always act. You move into a season where authority is measured by the steady architecture of habit rather than by fleeting applause. Spaces that once resisted are now open because you return consistently. Conversations become safer because you taught people how to speak honestly. Your influence acts like a compass guiding attention toward dignity. Pressure arrives in subtle circuits. Established interests offer flattering shortcuts that erode roots. Friends bend when rewards shift. Each choice now reveals the character of the work. Refuse expediency that hollow purpose. Protect the substrate of change. Compromise for convenience corrodes culture. Rigor should increase without calcifying the heart. Schedule weekly pauses for assessment. Ask teams 3 questions. Who does this serve? How will it last? Who leads when we leave? Failures to satisfy any test need revision. Insist on clear commitments, and pair gentle correction with consistent standards to prevent drift. Expect envy and misreading. Some will call steadiness cunning. Others will assign motives when you refuse spectacle. Convert rumor into invitation. Host doubters in small tasks so they witness integrity in practice. Time will reveal more than arguments. Build redundancy. Teach routines so no single absence collapses systems. Document decisions and train lieutenants in practice and temperament. Leaders who replant leadership secure durable influence. Celebrate competence and make promotion a platform for multiplication. Authority accrues in tiny returns. Greet custodians by name. Answer promises with action. Return to neighborhoods that once cheered into those that never noticed. These small comebacks weave trust into fabric. When stages beckon, align words with work. Avoid rhetoric that reads well but fails local realities. Let stories invite labor rather than theater. Share credit, spotlight teams, and be explicit about what remains undone. Tighten language. Jargon breeds distance. Speak clearly with metaphors that help people act. Use practical measures that communities understand, their metrics matter. Keep reports concise and useful for those who live the change. Rituals steady culture. Shared meals, brief silences before meetings, quick postmortems after actions teach reflection. Rituals convert values into muscle memory and offer calibration points to correct drift early. Protect private counsel. Keep a handful of advisors who name blind spots without flattery. Heed their feedback quickly. Guard solitude from turning into isolation by inviting peer review from leaders beyond your circle. Hold resources to account. Transparent budgets prevent suspicion. Prioritize interventions that preserve dignity over headline projects. Regular modest disbursements with clear outcomes often beat sporadic large gestures. Train repairs practice. Programs that restore relationships, teach governance basics, and rebuild trust yield durable returns. Teach teams to value repair as much as novelty. Honor those who keep systems, clerks, cooks, drivers, custodians. Tell their stories and compensate fairly. Infrastructure is human, and its caretakers deserve dignity. In crises, act with speed and humility. Gather facts, convene knowledgeable people, and make provisional choices that can be revised. Fast action paired with openness invites collaboration and reduces harm. Model limits. Say no publicly when necessary and offer alternatives. Limits guard attention and capacity. Declining with explanation makes refusal a disciplined choice rather than abdication. Protect wonder. Fund small experiments that feed culture even if metrics lag. Treat failure as learning. Curiosity yields options where rigidity finds none. Teach successors to steward reputation rather than exploit it. Use endorsements to open doors for others and build networks that persist. Legacy multiplies when influence is shared. Lie the paradox plainly, authority that feels like peace rather than appetite. Let your public posture be generosity and your private life committed to renewal. The days will be ordinary but the effects compound across years. Walk steady and keep your hands soft. Beyond tasks, tend the interior grammar of service. A steady inner life protects decisions from hunger and haste. Practice public repair quickly because visible mending teaches courage. Keep a ledger of restitutions to defend slow work from spectacle's lure. Recruit unexpected partners, craftspersons, teachers, elders, and volunteers whose daily labor reshapes assumptions. Maintain transparent budgets to build confidence and limit rumor. Celebrate quiet competence and foster humility. Teach successors to use reputation to open doors and to grow leadership beyond any single person. Protect pockets of silence for renewal, and make curiosity a collective practice. Endure the slow rhythms because small returns compound into generational transformation. Keep steady hands and quiet firmness of purpose. You enter the final stretch of this unfolding passage, where the echoes of prior effort reverberate in subtle currents. The city seems transformed, ordinary streets pulse with latent intention, storefronts flicker with quiet symbolism, and the people passing you are vectors of unseen narratives, unknowingly tuned to a higher cadence. Your awareness pierces this veneer, sensing alignment between human movement and divine rhythm. Every gesture you make resonates beyond immediate perception, shaping currents that will travel far beyond your direct touch. Begin by noticing how ordinary actions now carry extraordinary weight. Every greeting, every acknowledgement, every measured pause radiates influence. You understand that recognition is no longer granted by external authorities alone. Instead, it flows from the consistent embodiment of purpose, clarity, and presence. In this phase, your footsteps themselves compose a language, slow enough for observation, deliberate enough to signal intention. You walk among crowds, yet operate within a sphere of unseen authority, invisible yet undeniable. Challenges emerge as subtle tests. Some will attempt to bend your integrity for convenience or spectacle. Others will try to recast your consistency as ambition. Your response must be disciplined restraint and quiet demonstration. Act in alignment with principles rather than react to perception. This is the domain where subtlety becomes power. Influence is measured not by attention drawn, but by resonance sustained. Invest now in spaces that multiply effect without demanding attention. Teach routines that persist in your absence. Open doors for those who were previously overlooked, creating structures of empowerment. Train communities to see beyond immediate reward toward long-term cultivation. Your leadership is no longer performed, it is transmitted. Each interaction becomes a node in an evolving network of responsibility, capable of sustaining itself through generational shifts. Guard inner life carefully. The patterns of silence, reflection, and renewal you cultivated are now essential tools. They allow discernment to operate amidst complexity, ensuring that your choices remain aligned with core purpose. Solitude is not withdrawal, it is calibration. Use these moments to assess outcomes, refine strategy, and deepen understanding of both human systems and unseen currents guiding their flow. Maintain the ritual of transparency. Open reports, shared reflections, and collaborative assessments anchor trust. Make visible what is often hidden: process, effort, learning, and repair. Recognition is transformed from fleeting applause into enduring understanding. Communities begin to self-correct, inspired by your example rather than your rhetoric. Small, consistent disclosures create culture that sustains itself. Invite engagement in subtle but profound ways. Create spaces for dialogue where diverse voices converge. Some will challenge assumptions, some will reveal blind spots. Rather than viewing dissent as a threat, recognize it as intelligence. Harness it to strengthen systems. Ensure feedback loops translate into actionable insight, creating resilience without dependency on a single figure. Now, the invisible axis of your work reveals a new layer. You notice synchronicities, coincidences, and openings where barriers once stood. Authority defers to integrity, systems yield to clarity, and opportunity aligns with preparation. The world seems to conspire quietly, not to glorify you, but to amplify what has been cultivated with patience, courage, and obedience to deeper currents. Here, you recognize the moment of transition. The narrative extends beyond the immediate. The work you have done, the presence you have cultivated, is now a channel for a broader message. Your life functions as both proof and instruction. Recognition from old hierarchies is no longer the aim, it is a signpost indicating that the principles you embody are moving through the world. The quiet authority you have nurtured has now become transmissible, and those attuned can feel it resonate even from afar. The culminating act arrives, a new vessel awaits the continuation of this divine orchestration. A video appears at the center of your screen, luminous, pulsing with the same cadence that has guided your steps. It is not a distraction, it is an extension, a portal for the next revelation. You realize that the unfolding work, the momentum of purpose, and the alignment of unseen currents converge here. To engage is to continue, to step fully into the trajectory that has been prepared. You lean forward, understanding that this moment requires commitment. Subscribing is not a trivial act, it is an acknowledgement that you choose to follow the signal, that you are willing to receive ongoing instruction and alignment. Notifications are no longer mundane, they are invitations to attune continually to a higher rhythm. The message will not fade when attention wanders, but will persist through deliberate engagement, deepening awareness and capacity with each viewing. The sacred pattern has shifted from abstract principle into tangible interaction. Your participation confirms the cycle. Watching is not passive, it is activation. You recognize that the covenant is living, the light is continuous, and the revelation flows through both observation and action. Every click, every deliberate engagement, is a step further into the path designed for your stewardship. Take a breath, steady and intentional. Feel the momentum you have cultivated through unseen patience, persistent alignment, and disciplined service. the echo of prior steps resonates with the unfolding signal. The city, the people, the currents of influence, they all converge in this moment, pointing toward continuity. The next chapter is alive, luminous, and waiting for your full reception. Tap the video and step into the ongoing transmission. Allow it to speak to the frequencies your journey has already prepared. Engage fully, subscribe, and open notifications not as spectatorship, but as alignment with purpose. This is not entertainment. It is continuation, activation, and covenant. The light moves forward, and you are now integral to its unfolding.